Chapter 11. Creating Your Own Cheat. You are listening at novelfull.audio. You deserve it, for being greedy and having cheap hands. Tang Rui, who had finished his breakfast, sat in front of his work desk, gnashing his teeth as he folded the paper airplane. The main reason was that he was too greedy. During breakfast, he put another 1,000 paper airplanes on the shelves. In the end, those were instantly killed by the netizens. 1,000 paper airplanes were sold out in an instant. He was still very happy during breakfast. 210 yuan paper airplanes and 805 yuan paper airplanes. This time, he earned 6,000 yuan. The cost was negligible. However, after he finished his breakfast, when he returned home and started folding the plane, all the good things turned into pain. 1,000 paper airplanes. How long would that take? Needless to say, he had to upgrade the paper airplane and package it for delivery. Just dealing with orders alone was a headache in itself. Thinking about the workload involved, he felt uncomfortable. This was really his hard-earned money, the kind that would make his hands burn. Fortunately, the origami plane could obtain the origin point. Otherwise, he really wouldn't do this business. At most, he would sell the paper airplane he folded yesterday and quit. But for the origin point. In addition, he could also earn a little money. No matter how hard it was, he had to persevere. But this time, he had learned his lesson. The paper airplane was a bluff. Not to mention flying in a straight line, there was a high chance that it would crash if it was thrown out. Some of these even had wings of different lengths. Anyway, there was the system's upgrade panel. He could level up after throwing it twice. At that time, no matter how many flaws there were, they would be optimized by the system. Ness. Even so, he only managed to fold 1,000 paper airplanes by 4 p.m. After contacting the delivery man, he picked up the paper airplane and began to throw it around the room to upgrade it. Congratulations, Brother Rui. Paper airplanes are selling so well. After the delivery boy came to the door, he smiled and congratulated Tang Rui. Thank you. Tang Rui gave a smile that was in line with society's expectations and reluctantly spat a word of thanks. Then, the two of them began to sort out the orders, print the barcodes, and package them. One of them would be busy until 7 in the evening before finishing all the orders. Fortunately, there was only one item, and it was very light. Otherwise, who knew how long he would be busy? When everything was done, Tang Rui threw himself onto the sofa, not wanting to move. He was too tired. He was too lazy to even eat dinner. After deducting the cost and delivery fee, the net profit for this batch of paper airplanes was only 5,800 yuan. However, the biggest gain from this batch was not how much he earned but the 10 origin points on the system interface. With these points, he could upgrade the drone again. However, he did not do so. This was because they could still be upgraded normally and had not reached a bottleneck. It would be a waste to upgrade it now. There was another reason. That was, if he upgraded it again, the level of the various equipment on the drone would exceed the current level of human technology. He could still explain the drone in front of him. If it were upgraded again, just the source of the materials and equipment would be hard to explain. Actually, he was already having a headache. It felt great when he was upgrading it. It felt even better when it flew. However, when it came to explaining, he felt uncomfortable. How did the drone's electro-optical system work? How could it take such a clear image? How did you write the avionics system? How was the entire control system developed? What kind of machines were needed to make such a powerful turbine engine? How could it have such precision? Explanations. There was no way to explain. At the level he was at, there was no way he could build such a powerful drone. In order to deal with the situation, Tang Rui decided to make a cheat for himself, and these 10 source points would be used to upgrade the cheat equipment. As for what kind of cheat it was, his initial idea was to use a knowledge and skill infusion device. It sounded very high-class. To put it bluntly, it was an advanced learning machine. This was not a joke. He thought about it seriously. It was similar to the system panel that could add equipment points to itself. He definitely couldn't do that. Just the big Luo characteristic on the system interface alone was not something he could create. Therefore, it was better to make a simpler one. When a person was sleeping, their brain would emit all kinds of brainwaves. For example, the alpha wave, the beta wave, and the beta wave. These brainwaves could actually be read. However, the current human understanding of the brain was not at the level of deciphering these brainwaves. In addition, many laboratories were currently researching devices that used brainwaves to control computers. There were actually many open-source brainwave reading system codes on the internet. With these things, he could totally assemble a brainwave reading and input device by himself. Although it was definitely useless. However, as long as he built one, he could use the system interface to improve it. After a few upgrades and enhancements, it would definitely be effective. At that time, he would be able to enjoy the feeling of knowledge flowing into his brain while he was asleep. Just thinking about it made him happy. In the future, the system interface would not be discovered in order to live a good life. Tang Rui gritted his teeth, and with a steel-like will, he defeated laziness and exhaustion and climbed up from the sofa. After casually eating 2 pieces of compressed biscuits and drinking a glass of water, he began to work. Such equipment was actually rather simple to make. It was just a single chip and a memory stick, a transmitter, a receiver, and a shell. Was it that difficult to build this thing? Not at all. He had learned a lot during his 4 years in university. Able to program, know how to bond circuit boards, and be proficient in using 2D drawing and 3D modeling software. Although he was not good at everything, it was not difficult for him to make small things. He came to the workbench. Tang Rui took out a circuit board and started working. He had all the accessories at home. Even if it didn't, it could be removed from other electronic devices. Without looking at the actual effect of the equipment, his production speed was very fast. In less than 2 hours, a minimalist and wasteland-style knowledge and skill infusion device was completed. That industrial rawness, though. How should he put it? Even dogs would despise it. But Tang Rui didn't care. He looked at the system panel, the corners of his mouth curling up. Item. Damaged knowledge and skill imbuing equipment, experience. 0/300, origin points. 10, can be upgraded, this time. Tang Rui did not wait for the equipment to upgrade but directly chose to upgrade the equipment. Upgraded shell .1 origin point, enhanced hardware .1 origin point. Upgraded software .1 point. He only spent 3 origin points to complete the upgrade of the entire equipment. Chapter 12. Subconscious Learning in Dreams. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Item. Knowledge and skill imbuing equipment, experience. 0/1200, enhancement. External, hardware, software, origin point. 7, can be strengthened. After the enhancement, the entire equipment changed greatly, and the data on the system panel was also different. The experience points required to upgrade the light was multiplied several times. This was nothing. This equipment can be used after the upgrade. The system interface was no longer damaged. Why does it look like an eye mask? Tang Rui held the equipment in his hand and felt a little strange. The minimalist shell that he had previously created was actually a layer of plastic wrapped around the circuit board. However, according to his thoughts, this device should be like the legendary virtual gaming helmet, worn directly on the head. However, it had been strengthened by the system. The equipment did not turn into a helmet but an eye mask. It was just that this blindfold was a little big. It could even wrap around the ears, making it look a little strange. Forget it. It didn't matter what the style was as long as it was useful. Tang Rui was no longer bothered about the design problem. He connected the data lines and began to inject the source code of the entire avionics software of the drone. In less than 2 minutes, the entire source code was transmitted. He thought about it and saved all the study materials he had prepared last year. He had gotten this information from his senior last year when he was preparing for the postgraduate entrance examination, but he had no use for it later. It was a good time to save these materials and study them while sleeping. I'll save these for now. We'll talk about it after I finish learning. After Tang Rui finished all this, he couldn't wait to lie down on the bed, put on the equipment, and get ready to sleep. He wanted to test the effect of this equipment. As the equipment was turned on, he quickly fell into a deep sleep. At this moment, the sensor detected the changes in his brainwaves, and the knowledge data was converted into electromagnetic signals that could be read by the brain. Under the effect of the transmitter, it was guided into his brain. Tang Rui, who was in a deep sleep, had a dream in a daze. In the dream, he was a programmer and one who enjoyed good fortune. He sat in front of the computer and kept writing code. Sometimes, it was too tiring. When he felt like he was about to collapse, the company would always give him 2 days off to rest and go shopping. When he calmed down, they would call him back to work and continue to enjoy his blessings. Just like that, after an unknown period of time, the drone system project that he had assigned was finally completed. Just as he was about to go on a vacation and relax, the company said that they had signed him up for a training class and asked him to study for a while before taking the postgraduate entrance examination. Crap. At that moment, he collapsed. F***ck. Tang Rui immediately cursed the moment he woke up. This nightmare was too terrifying. It was even scarier than dreaming of demons and ghosts. He removed the equipment. He looked at the sunlight that was revealed through the thin slits of the curtains and suddenly felt a little dazed. It was like having a hangover and half dead. He raised his hand and scratched his hair. Suck. His scalp felt as if it had been electrocuted. The place where his fingers touched felt numb. His scalp went numb. What the hell was going on? Was the equipment leaking electricity? Or was this a side effect of using the equipment? He got up. He stretched his body and did a few calculations in his mind. There was nothing wrong with it. His body was fine, and there were no instances where his brain could not control his body. His brain was also functioning normally. However, his scalp felt a little numb. Nothing serious. He turned around and picked up the equipment to check the data on the system panel. Item: Knowledge and Skill Imbuing Equipment, EXP 10638/1200, Upgradable, Enhancement. External, Hardware, Software, Origin Point. 7, can be upgraded. He had actually accumulated so many experience points in one night. There was nothing else to say. Upgrade. Swoosh. A faint light flashed. There weren't many changes to the equipment as a whole, but the external structure was more in line with the ergonomic design. He tried to put on the device. It was much more comfortable. It fit his face very well, and there was no pressure. Very good. This optimization wasn't bad. He continued to level up. This upgrade cost him 2,600 experience points. However, there were no changes to the equipment's exterior after this upgrade. As for the internal changes, he didn't care, nor did he open it to take a look. He had spent 3,800 EXP to level up twice, so he was left with 6,838 EXP. The next level up required only 5,600 EXP. He continued to level up. Swoosh. A blue light flashed. Equipment upgrade complete. Item: High Efficiency Subconscious Learning Equipment +3, experience. 1238/11500, enhancement. External, hardware, software, origin point. 7, can be strengthened. This time, the equipment had changed greatly. It had become thinner and lighter. It had gone from nearly 2 centimeters thick to 8 millimeters now. What's the big deal? The changes in the data on the system interface were the most shocking. Even the device's name had been changed to become a subconscious learning device. The key was leveling up. Even if he leveled up 3 times in a row, he wasn't even close to the limit. He could still continue leveling up. Unfortunately, there were no more experience points. Tang Rui smacked his lips, a little unsatisfied. At the same time, he also wanted to test the effects of the equipment upgrade. But thinking about it, he felt his scalp tingle and decided against it. He put down the equipment. He washed up, changed his clothes, and ordered takeout along the way. He didn't want to go out for breakfast. Because he could not help but want to know the results of last night's learning. He sat in front of the computer. He opened the drone's source code and began to read it line by line. Originally, he could understand these codes, but that was all he could understand. How should he put it? It was like the answer to a profound mathematical problem. He could understand every single character in the answer, but he did not know what it meant when he connected them together. But it was different now. He looked at the lines of code, and his memories returned. It was like a knowledge point that you had already mastered, but you had not used it for a long time and became a little rusty. With the recovery of these memories, you will soon regain your knowledge in this area. Tang Rui's current situation was like this. In his eyes, these lines of code were written by him. Now that he picked it up again, he would soon understand the meaning behind it. How should I describe this feeling? It felt great. Other than feeling a little numb on his scalp, everything else felt great. Unknowingly, Tang Rui looked at the code and was fascinated. It was not until the delivery man knocked on the door of his house that he woke up. It was very uncomfortable. Trash breakfast, disruption amid studies. He quickly finished his breakfast and sat in front of the computer to read the code. From morning to noon, it was a total of 5 hours. Only then did he finish reading the entire code of the drone's avionics systems. He benefited greatly from it. Especially some of the algorithms, which made him even more excited. It could be said that he had now completely mastered the knowledge of the drone system. If anyone were to ask him, he could answer them with a clear and logical explanation. Chapter 13. The disadvantage of too sharp an image. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. After lunch, Tang Rui rested for a while, then put on the equipment and went to take an afternoon nap. After all, the feeling of knowledge flowing into his brain was simply too satisfying. At the same time, he also wanted to know if there would be any side effects after upgrading the equipment. It would be very uncomfortable if his scalp went numb every morning. He turned on the equipment. The electromagnetic waves that helped with sleep began to emit. Tang Rui fell asleep within a minute. In the dream, he returned to his senior year. He had apparently made up his mind to take the postgraduate entrance examination and studied hard every day. He didn't know if it was because his brain had been enlightened or if his hard work had paid off. He was a fast learner. He could remember a lot of information after reading it once. This kind of happy learning experience made him unable to stop. After an unknown period of time, he finally finished learning all the materials for the postgraduate entrance examination. At this moment, he woke up from his dream. He removed the equipment. Tang Rui lay on the bed, his eyes looking at the ceiling in confusion. The dream this time was very real. He could still recall some scenes from his dream. He could even recite the materials for the postgraduate entrance examination without thinking carefully. He raised his hand to touch his hair. He didn't feel anything. His scalp didn't go numb. It seemed that after leveling up 3 times, the side effects had disappeared. He no longer had to worry about his scalp going numb. This was very nice. However, when he came back to his senses, he realized that the room was pitch black. Only the silver white moonlight shone in through the window. He felt terrible. He picked up his phone and looked at it. Good heavens! It was already 8:30 p.m. In other words, this time, he slept for 6.5 hours. He slept from afternoon to night. Looks like I still have to use it at night. If I use it during the day, it'll be too much of a waste of time. Tang Rui also did not expect to sleep for such a long time. Therefore, he made up his mind to only use the subconscious learning device at night in the future. He got up. He washed his face. He picked up a compressed biscuit and sat in front of the computer. He looked up information while eating. Is it so expensive to download these theses now? Tang Rui was prepared to download some papers on image processing to learn. In the end, he went to HowNet, and the price almost scared him to death. When he was in school, he didn't have to spend money to go online. Now that he had graduated, he realized he now looked down on the thesis. This was F*King annoying. HowNet is awesome. I can go to AR-14 to take a look. Back then, he had also wanted to be a top student. After all, he was still a young player. Everyone had experienced the hot-blooded state of the game. However, in reality, most of the time, everyone was in a state of waiting for death. Therefore, he had also registered an AR-14 account but never used it. It was his fault for not being able to pass the English test. Basic English was definitely enough, but to fully understand the thesis on AR-14, he was still lacking. It was hard to read. He didn't have to worry about this now. It was just English. He just had to memorize all the words. Downloading the Chinese English Translation Dictionary. To download the English professional vocabulary of each subject. Downloading the English slang vocabulary. After spending more than an hour, he downloaded 3 types of study materials. After he finished learning the vocabulary in these materials, he should be able to read the English thesis without any problems. He looked at the time. It was past 9:50, but it wasn't even 10 yet. Continue sleeping. No way. Although it was fun to sleep and study, he couldn't sleep like this forever. Tang Rui thought about it and decided to fly the drone to speed up the upgrade speed of the drone. Anyway, he had enough sleep in the afternoon, so he could sleep later today. Thinking of this, he took out his suitcase, put all the equipment in it, and then dragged the drone downstairs. It was still the familiar old mountain forest observation platform. After all, this place was relatively hidden. But this time, he bought 3 small barrels of kerosene. A total of 120 liters. This kerosene was enough for the drone to fly for 4 hours. On the observation platform, Tang Rui put all the equipment on the table and filled the drone with fuel. After confirming that there were no problems, he increased the throttle, released the brakes, and pulled up the control stick. Along with the whistling sound of the turbine engine, the drone's tail drew 2 brilliant flame trails as it flew rapidly into the sky. No one flew over the mountains in front of him, and he flew towards the direction of the Yangtze River. He wasn't planning to fly in the old mountain forest today. It was boring. In the forest, many of the drone's functions could not be tested. Last time, although he used the drone to help the police capture the wanted criminal, the functions he used were the most basic. It didn't show the true ability of the drone at all. But today was different. He had already figured out the entire system of the drone. He knew exactly what functions the drone had and how to use them. Crack. When the drone entered the top of the national highway, he immediately typed on the keyboard. Activating dynamic target scanning function. The wide-angle camera was turned on, and the entire area below the drone was captured. 5 seconds later, all the moving targets were identified by the system. Then, a series of markings appeared on the screen. These markings included pedestrians on the roadside, vehicles on the road, and wild cats in the woods. Tang Rui clicked on the vehicle mark. Swoosh! The other types of markings disappeared, and all the vehicles on the road were locked on again. The high-zoom camera was activated and started to take pictures of the car. In less than 3 seconds, the photos of the cars appeared on the computer screen. He clicked on the logo of one of the cars. Swoosh! Many photos appeared on the screen. These photos included the whole vehicle, a clear image of the license plate, a magnified photo of the special logo on the car's body, and even a high-definition picture of the vehicle. Why was the driver's hand on the passenger's thigh? Could it be a kidnapping? No way. He had to take a good look. Tang Rui clicked on the target lock, then activated the final mode. The drone immediately adjusted its direction and caught up with the car. It then began to scan the car from all angles. A minute later, Tang Rui already knew the person in the passenger seat of this car like the back of his hand. Even the letters printed on the Balenciaga stockings on her legs were clear. Was it a kidnapping? It wasn't. It was the person in the passenger seat who had hooked up with a rich guy. Don't ask him how he knew. The photo clearly displayed the contents of the WeChat message sent by the passenger. It was meaningless. He exited the locked tracking mode. Open the hidden terrain search mode of the Why were there 2 human-shaped infrared models stacked together in the forest on the bank of the Yangtze River? Was this kidnapping or murder? He flew over to take a look. 1 minute. The drone turned around and accelerated away from the bank of the Yangtze River. Tang Rui rubbed his eyes. He had no choice. The scene he saw just now was a little painful to the eyes. Damn it. It was actually 2 men. Sometimes, taking too sharp a photo wasn't a good thing. Chapter 14. Brother, let's go on a blind date. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 14. Brother, let's go on a blind date. 1 a.m. Tang Rui landed the drone on the observation deck. The flight lasted for 3.5 hours. During this period, he also added fuel 3 times. Tang Rui tested most of the functions of the drone. At the same time, she also took a lot of photos. All are the beautiful night scenery of Jinling. After putting away the drone, Tang Rui looked at the experience points on the system panel and was very satisfied. Item. Exquisite fixed-wing drone +3, EXP, 7156/12000, enhancements. Body, avionics, engine, energy, origin. 7. After more than 3 hours, he had accumulated more than 5,400 experience points. Adding on the original 1700 EXP, his total EXP had reached 7156. If they continued to fly for more than 3 hours tomorrow night, the drone would be upgraded. He packed his things. It was time to home and sleep. Tang Rui hummed a tune as he drove home in satisfaction. The next day, Tang Rui woke up, took off the device on his head, and reached out to touch the bedside table. He picked up his phone and looked at it. There were more than 30 messages and 8 missed calls. What was going on? Could a sugar daddy be looking for him for a video? He opened WeChat. Good heavens! It wasn't a message from some sugar daddy, but the 2 little demons. The missed call was also from the 2 of them. He had a headache. Tang Rui helplessly put down his phone. Why was there such a reaction? If you had 2 sisters, you would have the same reaction. He had 2 younger sisters, Zhou Ziki and Tang Yu. They were his half-sisters. When he was in elementary school, his parents divorced. There was no melodramatic plot. It simply meant that the relationship between the 2 sides had broken down. When he was young, he didn't really understand why the 2 divorced just like that. However, when he grew up, he understood that his parents' divorce was very normal. This was because both of their personalities were very strong. Why did he say that? He still remembered one thing. When he was young, he had to buy an air conditioner at home. His mom wanted to buy energy-efficient ones, while his father wanted to buy a high-powered one. According to his mother, the cooling effect of the air conditioner was not bad, so buying an energy-saving one would save money. According to his father, the electricity bill was only a few dollars, and the quality of life was the most important. Who was wrong? They were both right, but their life philosophy was different. However, the problem was that both of them insisted on their own ideas and had to make the other agree with them. This was the F***king accident. For as long as he could remember, the two of them often quarreled over trivial matters. In the end, when he was in the second grade, the two of them filed for divorce. After the divorce, they both found their other halves and gave birth to a daughter at about the same time. That's right. It was his two younger sisters. Although the two of them had started their own families and had children, they did not mistreat him. When he was young, he lived here for a while and there for a while. Only in junior high school did he move in with his grandfather. Therefore, he was very familiar with these two sisters. He had watched them grow up. Then, because of him, they got to know each other and had a cordial relationship. There was no need to say anything else. Tutor his sister, send her to cram school, and accompany her shopping. He had done a lot of these things after graduating from university. Who asked him to be fine? When the two families had something to do, the first thing they thought of was him, an idle person. Today was Saturday, so neither of them had to go to school. It must have been one of them who suggested it, and then they agreed to come and look for him together. God! Let me go. Brother, open the door. Brother, open the door quickly. Just as Tang Rui was staring straight at the ceiling, feeling hopeless about life, the door was knocked. He's here. She got up helplessly and opened the door for the two of them. Brother, we specially brought you breakfast. Are you happy? Zhou Ziki took out a bag of buns and said to Tang Rui. Tang Yu, who was beside him, was holding a cup of soy milk and looking at him with a smile. What do you want to do today? Tang Rui wasn't in a happy mood at all. Instead, he asked his question with a vigilant look. Ah! Brother, can't you think of something better? Yes, we came to see you and help you clean your room. The smiles on the two people's faces appeared incomparably ferocious and terrifying in Tang Rui's eyes. It was over. Today, it was no longer a matter of whether he was bleeding. This was about cutting his main artery. Bang! He closed the door. Two beautiful girls in JK dragged the stiff Tang Rui back into the house. He placed the breakfast on the table and inserted the straw into the soy milk. Brother, hurry up and eat. The buns will be cold soon. Brother, don't worry. We really don't need you to buy us anything today. Tang Rui turned his head and glanced at them. Yes. The smile on his face was still very sincere. But why did he feel so terrified? Really? I don't believe it. Tang Rui still felt that something was not right. There had to be some conspiracy. We swear. We promise. Was it really that good? BVEC, the sun had risen from the west today. Forget it. He wanted to eat a full meal before he died. This was the first time he had eaten the breakfast they had bought for him. Ignoring the taste of the food, this feeling alone was good enough. Looking at Tang Rui wolfing down his breakfast, the two people quietly looked at each other and smiled at each other. He felt as if his scheme had succeeded. I'm full. It's rare for me to eat the breakfast you prepared for me. Tell me, as long as it's not too expensive, I'll arrange it for you. Tang Rui leaned back on the chair and looked at his two younger sisters sitting on his left and right. What are you talking about? I really don't need you to buy anything. That's right. You don't believe us at all. The two of them said with dissatisfaction and grievance. All right, all right, all right. I believe you. Since you're fine, then play by yourself. I'll go wash up first. After Tang Rui coaxed her perfunctorily, he ran to wash up. He started to wash up. On the other side, the two of them began to help him clean up. In fact, aside from the fact that the two of them always liked to trick him, his two younger sisters were quite good. Not only did she know how to clean, but she also knew how to cook. When he came out after washing up, he saw one folding his blanket and the other sweeping the floor. Crap. Something big was about to happen. But what could he do? He was also in despair. The two worked for more than half an hour. After cleaning the house, she sat beside him again and grabbed his arms. He was here. What was about to come would always come. Please begin your performance. Tang Rui raised his eyebrows, indicating that the two people could make requests. Brother, you're the only one at home. There's no one to cook for you or clean the house. That's right. It's not just that. Look at the clothes in your wardrobe. They're all from before. The styles are old, and no one bought you new ones. Also, it will be the new year in 2 to 3 months. You don't even have a girlfriend. Aren't you afraid of being criticized? His two half-sisters started to mock him. Tang Rui felt that something was wrong when he heard it. What kind of new tactic was this? Speak in a language I can understand. Tang Rui couldn't stand it anymore and stared at the two people as he asked. Cough cough. Brother, Mom has found you a girlfriend. Go on a blind date later. Nanny. Blind date. He had just graduated from university, and he was going on a blind date. Was that some kind of joke? Chapter 15. Knowing where you'd be buried at a glance. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 15. Knowing where you'd be buried at a glance. 2 hours later. Tang Rui left the house dressed like a dog. In fact, he really wanted to escape, but he couldn't. Zhou Ziki and Tang Yuanyue grabbed his arms from the left and right, holding him tightly. Let's wait for a while. Can I know what benefits Mom has given you? Tang Rui asked Zhou Ziki. Hee, I can't. Zhou Ziki shook her head. But the smile on her face betrayed her. Can I pay more? Tang Rui asked, unwilling to give up. Brother, I believe you will increase the money, but I don't believe you have it. F***ck. It hurt. Xiao Yu, this has nothing to do with you, right? You won't get anything out of it, so why bother? Why don't you help me? I'll arrange for you what you want to buy. Tang Rui saw that Zhou Ziki's side wasn't working, so he turned to look at Tang Yu. Brother, actually, Mrs. Lu bought it for me too. It's just like Ziki's. Tang Yu answered with a smile. How could she not be happy after selling her brother for a good price? Brother, don't even think about bribing us. This time, our mother spent a lot. You can't afford it, so you'd better come with us obediently. That's right. It's just a matchmaking session. It's not like we're going to the execution ground. What's there to be afraid of? Tang Rui took a deep breath. I want half. What? Both of them were dumbfounded. Since you betrayed me, I don't have to worry about you. No matter what benefits you get this time, I want half of it. Otherwise, I'll call Mom and tell her that she doesn't need to bribe you. I'll listen to her arrangements. Brother, how could you do this? Are you still our dearest brother? The two of them grabbed his arm and started acting cute. My dearest brother is to be sold. Tang Rui curled his lips in displeasure. Brother, just make a small sacrifice. That's right. It's just a blind date. I'm not asking you to do anything else. Moreover, your date is a beauty. Really? Really, super beautiful. Yes, yes, yes. She's gorgeous. Let's go then. Tang Rui stopped protesting. It was all the same to him. Die if he did, and die if he didn't. Since it was all arranged, there was no harm in going over to take a look. That's more like it. Don't worry, we'll help you. We'll be your strongest wingmen. We'll definitely get you the beauty. Tang Rui rolled his eyes and ignored them. Very quickly, the three arrived at a Western restaurant. It wasn't a particularly luxurious place, but the environment was very good. Brother, over there, it is that young lady. As soon as he entered the restaurant, Tang Yu gestured to him, indicating that the person at the table in the corner was his blind date. Tang Rui took a glance. Good heavens! It was indeed beautiful. She had long, straight hair, a black chiffon dress, and fair skin. In particular, her face was not that of an internet celebrity. Instead, she had the temperament of a classic beauty. If they were to die, the two of them would definitely be buried in a place with beautiful mountains and rivers. That would be in line with each other's temperament. It was just a glance. He had already thought of where to bury them after they died. Brother, stop looking. Hurry up and go over. Yes, brother. The other party's name is Li Shuyao. Remember. Zhou Ziki dragged Tang Rui inside. She hurriedly muttered, almost forgetting to tell him the name. At this moment, the other party also saw him and stood up from his seat. Hello, I'm Tang Rui. These are my sisters. Tang Rui walked over and said. It wasn't that he didn't want to call her name, but he had forgotten. He didn't hear what Tang Yu said just now. Hello, my name is Li Shuyao. Ziki, Xiaoya, we meet again. Li Shuyao said politely and then greeted his two sisters with a smile. It was obvious. His two younger sisters knew the girl. After taking their seats, the three girls began to chat. He sat there in a daze. Didn't they agree to be the strongest wingman? Why did she forget about him the moment she turned around? He treated them well for nothing. Sir, would you like to order something? The waiter walked over and asked. What would you prefer? After Tang Rui took the menu, he looked at Li Shuyao and asked. I don't have any taboos. That's good. Tang Rui lowered his head and started to order. Zhou Ziki and Tang Yu, who were sitting next to Li Shuyao, rolled their eyes speechlessly when they saw his reaction. Sister Shuyao, didn't you say you had to work overtime this week? Why do you suddenly have time? Tang Yu asked. After I'm done with my work, I naturally don't have to work overtime. Are you usually very busy? It's all right. There are a lot of things to do, but I don't need to work overtime. How about we go hiking next week? Sure. After Tang Rui ordered the dishes, he looked at the three girls chatting enthusiastically, but he couldn't interrupt them no matter how hard he tried. Sister Shuyao, look at my brother. He's completely smitten, Zhou Ziki suddenly said. When Tang Rui heard this sentence, his entire body went numb. Was there such a thing as cheating your brother? This was the strongest wingman she meant. Li Shuyao raised her head, looked at Tang Rui, and then said, Tang Rui, can I call you that? Sure. Tang Rui nodded, not knowing what to say. No experience. When he was in school, he played with airplane models every day and never had a girlfriend. There were no girls in his major. I heard from Auntie Lu that you can make your own drones. Yes, the technical content of drones is actually not high, especially those toy drones, Tang Rui said. When it came to drones, he was still very confident. Sister Shuyao, my brother's skills are amazing. When he graduated, many companies hired him, Zhou Ziki chimed in. Mrs. Lu said that you don't have a job now. Yes, I haven't gone. I'm currently working on the media at home. Self.media is pretty good too. Yes. It was gone. When the two of them chatted until here, Tang Rui didn't know what to say and couldn't continue chatting. This made his two younger sisters anxious. He rolled his eyes. Just as the atmosphere became a little awkward, his phone rang. Sorry, I have to take this call. Tang Rui picked up the phone and saw an unfamiliar number. Hello. Hello, who is it? Is this Comrade Tang Rui? I'm Officer Chen from the Skynet Police Command Center. Hello, Officer Chen. Is there anything you need me to do? No, I'm calling mainly to discuss the reward. The two wanted criminals had a total bounty of 300,000 yuan, and the process was already underway. It's expected to be approved by next Wednesday. If you're free, come to the station. If you don't have time, send me your bank account number and bank. I can transfer the money to you directly. Okay, thank you, Officer Chen. I'll go to the police station next week. That's fine. When the bonus is approved, I'll send you a message. Just bring your ID card over. Alright, sorry to trouble you. No trouble at all. Goodbye. He hung up the phone. When Tang Rui thought about how he would have 300,000 next week, the corners of his mouth could not help but curl up slightly. It was still a small amount of money. Brother, why are the police looking for you? Did you do something illegal? Tang Yu asked curiously. Can't you just hope that I'm well? No. 2 days ago, when I was playing with the drone, I happened to find two wanted criminals and reported their location to the police. Then, the police successfully arrested the two of them. He called me to inform me to go to the police station next week to receive my reward. Tang Rui explained the matter simply. Li Shuyao's eyes lit up when she heard that. On Wednesday night, were you the one who used the drone to lock onto Obmer and June? Yes, it's me. How did you know? Tang Rui was very curious. Wasn't such a thing confidential? Because I'm also a police officer, Li Shuyao replied with a smile. Are you a police officer? Tang Rui was a little dumbfounded. Brother, didn't I tell you? Sister Shuyao works at the Internet Surveillance Bureau. After hearing Tang Yu's words and looking at Li Shuyao, a picture suddenly appeared in Tang Rui's mind. Chapter 16. What's wrong? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 16. What's wrong? He could not let his imagination run wild. If he continued to think about it, the society would die. May I serve the food? Sure. Tang Rui hurriedly nodded. A few waiters came to the table with plates and began to serve the dishes. For tomahawk steak sets, fruit vegetable salad, prawn balls golden fish steak squid. The table was full. If the table was smaller, the food really wouldn't be able to fit. One word was highlighted. It was true. Sir, your order is ready. Please enjoy your meal. Alright, thank you. After Tang Rui finished talking with the waiter, he turned to look at Li Shuyao. In the end, the other party looked at him with a smile, and his expression was a little strange. As for his two younger sisters, they had their heads lowered and their hands on their foreheads. He didn't know what they were doing. Let's eat first. If it's not enough, we'll order later, Tang Rui said casually. This was the most common thing they'd say during dinner. All right. Li Shuyao nodded with a smile and picked up the cutlery. Zhou Ziki and Tang Yu raised their heads and looked at Tang Rui cutting the steak with a knife and fork. Both of them had broken-down expressions. Sister Shuyao, that. Actually. My brother. Zhou Ziki tried to organize her words for a long time but didn't know what to say. I understand. You're worried. Hurry up and eat. The steak here is not bad. All right. The two of them were helpless and could only eat. Ah, crap. How useless they were. However, the tomahawk steak was not bad, though it was a little too big. The two ate half of it and did not dare to eat more. She was afraid that she would get fat. You two can't eat anymore. It can't be, right? After Tang Rui finished his steak, he looked at his sister's plates, and there was still half of the steak left. He frowned and asked. I can't eat anymore. I've gained 3 pounds recently. Tang Yu shook her head. I've gained weight recently too. Zhou Ziki said. Come, give it to me. Don't waste it. After Tang Rui finished speaking, he didn't wait for the two people to stop him and put the steaks on their plates onto his own plate. It was delicious. How fragrant. Tang Rui ate very happily. He didn't want to maintain his image anymore. There was no need. She was a civil servant. She was so beautiful that there were many people chasing after her. With his conditions, it was better to stop dreaming. Therefore, eating was the most important thing for this blind date. 40 minutes later. Tang Rui put down the cutlery and leaned back on the sofa to rest. He ate most of the dishes on the table. The three women only ate some steak and salad. Li Shuyao finished her steak, even the bread and soup that came with the set meal. This made Tang Rui a little puzzled. How did she maintain such a good figure by eating so much? Could she be the type of person who wouldn't get fat no matter how much she ate? That was too unfair. Which window did the heavens close for her? Let's add each other on WeChat. Li Shuyao took out her phone and said. All right. Tang Rui was stunned for a moment and hurriedly took out his phone. Scanning the code. Add friends. After adding her on WeChat, Li Shuyao left. Only Tang Rui and the others were left. Brother, you'd better hurry up and earn money. Otherwise, with your current situation, don't even think about finding me a sister.in.law, Zhou Ziki said resentfully. It doesn't exist. Didn't she take the initiative to add me on WeChat? Alright, brother, as long as you're happy. Tang Yu pursed her lips and didn't want to say anything. Let's not talk about this. Let's go shopping. Ah. You still want to shop? We didn't need it at first, but your performance was too bad, and our benefits were greatly reduced. We can only make up for it with you. They left the restaurant. Tang Rui was pulled along by his two younger sisters with a helpless look to go shopping at Zinjiku. On the other side. When Li Shuyao got home, she changed into a set of gym clothes and turned on the treadmill. It's noon. Why are you working out? Li Shuyao's mother watched her daughter turn on the treadmill and asked in confusion. I ate too much at noon. I have to burn off the calories. Li Shuyao was also helpless. Tang Rui ordered so many things, and it was impossible for her to give him her share. Thus, she could only finish it herself. It was fine when she ate. Now, it was very uncomfortable to work out. What do you think of Lil Tang? Her mother asked casually. It's alright, but we've only met once. There are many things that I can't tell, Li Shuyao answered while jogging. Then why don't we try to get along for a while? If you agree, I'll give your Auntie Lu a reply. Let's talk about it later. Li Shuyao waved her hand, indicating that she should stop talking to her. Because the treadmill's speed had already increased, if she were to speak, she would not be able to breathe properly. They ran for half an hour. Li Shuyao got off the treadmill and walked around the room for a while before she started to stretch her body. After exercising for more than an hour, she finally stopped. Shower. She changed her clothes. Li Shuyao sat in front of the computer, opened a special program, and started typing on the keyboard. After a while, the computer screen displayed all kinds of information about Tang Rui. His WeChat chat history, his browser history, and his followers' information were on display. Li Shuyao flipped through these messages and found that Tang Rui's social circle was small, and he only had a few messages with many women. How dare you call this a fish pond? She pursed her lips and was very speechless about Tang Rui's online name. She thought he was a Tang master. In the end. Just this. However, in his browser history, she found some special websites. She copied the website and clicked on it. Macau Casino welcomes you. We have the most professional and beautiful dealers here, Anne. She smacked her lips. She had casually sent the website to a colleague who was on duty today. Block this website. Roger that. Get lost. Okay. Putting down her phone, she curled the corners of her mouth and opened the various videos that Tang Rui had uploaded. Among them were videos of Tang Rui doing science at the beginning, videos of him playing with airplane models, and videos of paper airplanes that had recently become popular. Her eyes instantly widened when she saw the paper airplane that could hover in the air. She was very surprised to see a paper airplane that could hover. He appeared to have such an ability. Li Shuyao closed the program and deleted these messages. She sat on the chair, deep in thought. After a while, she took out her phone again and sent a message. Sister Zhang, please help me check the hotel records of this ID card. Alright. In less than 3 minutes, a copy of the information was sent to her phone. She opened it. It was clean, and there was no record of him checking into a room in the past 6 months. The most recent time was when he went on a vacation during the New Year and stayed in a scenic area. Mom, reply to Auntie Lu. After putting down her phone, Li Yaoyao shouted at her mother. I told you that Lil Tang was fine. He's an honest child. I'll reply to your Auntie Lu now. Li Shuyao's mother was delighted to hear her daughter say that. Although it wasn't the best outcome, it was still a positive start. It was past 8 in the evening. Tang Rui dragged his tired body back home, took off his shoes, and threw himself on the sofa, looking at the ceiling with lifeless eyes. Tired. He was too tired. Although they had only walked a short distance, it was still tiring. Who knew why he would end up like this when he was shopping with a woman? It was as if the negative buffs were stacked up. Even if he climbed up, he would only be physically tired at most. He wouldn't be so physically and mentally exhausted. He lay there for more than 40 minutes. Only then did he recover his strength and get up to take a shower. After showering, he felt refreshed. He took out his phone and looked at Li Shuyao's WeChat. He didn't know what to say even after opening it for a long time. Forget it. She probably came over to have a meal with him because of his mother. Falling in love or whatsoever. He didn't even need to think about it. He put down his phone and wandered around the room. He didn't know why. His originally calm heart suddenly became restless, and his blood flowed a little faster. Let's see if the teachers have released any new works. Tang Rui sat in front of the computer and opened a website, his heart full of anticipation. Error 404. What was happening? Why did the website get an error 404? Chapter 17. Characteristic. Thought acceleration. You are listening at novelfull.audio. For a moment, the entire world turned dark. The 3 numbers displayed on the computer screen were like a bucket of cold water that poured on his heart. No. Why? Tang Rui was very uncomfortable, rather uncomfortable. But very quickly, he pulled himself together again. Can you stop me by blocking a website? It was impossible. As long as I change the number on the website and try a few more times, I'll be able to find a new website. Tang Rui tapped the keyboard and changed the number in the middle of the website from 11 to 77, then clicked enter. The website did not exist. He frowned. Since 77 wasn't right, he would try 17 or 21. Just as he was about to test the 2 sets of numbers, his phone rang. Someone sent him a message. There was no need to look. It must be from his mother, asking him how the blind date went. He picked up his phone. F***ck. It was actually a message from Li Shuyao. Is this a game? Brothers, how should I reply to this message? She's waiting online, and it's quite urgent. He searched online. In the end, the answers he found were too cheesy. What do you mean I'm not asleep yet? I've been waiting for you. What do you mean already asleep? I didn't expect to hear from you in my dreams. Hey. Too cheesy. It gave him goosebumps. Tang Rui hesitated for a long time before replying in his own style. I haven't slept. I'm about to sleep. It was just as expected. There was nothing wrong with it. On the other side, Li Shuyao sat in front of her computer, looking at the data on the screen and the messages on WeChat. She smiled and started typing. It's good to sleep early. Don't watch movies late at night. After Tang Rui received this message, he was stunned for a moment. What the hell? What did she mean? Watch a movie. What movie am I watching? Wait a minute. Could she mean F***ck? She hacked my camera. Tang Rui hurriedly pulled the data cable of the camera from the host. That. Did you hack into my computer? He's slandering me. He's slandering me. Li Shuyao sent a picture to the group. Tang Rui was very speechless. Sleep early. Good night. Li Shuyao sent a message. Good night. After Tang Rui replied to the message, the expression on his face changed, and he opened the browser again. This time, he wasn't looking for a movie but for information. There were also books about network security, anti-intrusion, firewalls, and other related subjects. He downloaded all the information and imported it into the subconscious learning device. Was the Internet Surveillance Bureau that amazing? Was it awesome just because he knew how to hack? It made it seem like he couldn't learn it. He downloaded the information. Tang Rui put on the equipment and went to bed to sleep. Very quickly. He fell asleep. In the dream. He had returned to high school, but what he learned was information security. The teacher was a beautiful woman called Li Shuyao. Tang Rui studied very seriously. He was in the first class, and the beautiful teacher told them that if they studied well, they could hack into her home's camera. That motivation to learn was powerful. The night was silent. The next day. 8 a.m. Tang Rui woke up. I think I dreamed of Li Shuyao last night. Although the knowledge he learned in the dream was in his mind, the dream's content was a little blurry. He had forgotten all the details. He only remembered that Li Shuyao, who was wearing a business suit, was teaching him. Item. High-efficiency subconscious learning equipment +3, EXP, 1027/11500, enhancement. External, hardware, software, origin point. 7, can be upgraded. Tang Rui glanced at the panel. He realized that he was only a little over 1,000 experience points away from leveling up. What else is there to say? After dinner, he would go back to sleep and gain experience points. He got up. He picked up the phone on the bedside table. Where did all this information come from? The Shakian icon turned to 99 again, and even the private messages on the small broken website had increased by thousands. He opened it. He realized that the people who sent the messages were all asking him when the paper airplane was going to be put on sale. So many people wanted to buy paper airplanes. Although there were also people who sent him private messages yesterday wanting to buy paper airplanes, there were not many people, so he did not take it seriously. In the end, when she woke up, why was it like this? It turned out that the paper airplane was on the hot search list. Moreover, he was ranked third. Many people who bought his paper airplane had taken videos of the hovering paper airplane. This time, the paper airplane went viral. Many netizens checked and found out the origin of the paper airplane. Then, they started to send him private messages to buy paper airplanes. There were even people who wanted to buy it at a high price. There was such a good thing. Grandma Li was really making me laugh. Tang Rui didn't say anything else, directly opening the display window and putting up 500 paper airplanes. Ding ding ding. A series of notifications sounded. In less than 10 minutes. In the time it took him to wash up, 500 paper airplanes were sold. Continue to put it on the shelves. Forget it. The equipment still needed to be upgraded. He could only fold 500 today. After breakfast, Tang Rui started to fold paper airplanes. It wasn't until 1 o'clock in the afternoon that he finished 500 paper airplanes. Then, he upgraded all the paper airplanes and contacted the courier to pick them up. Brother Rui, your paper airplane is really popular. I got it last night. What's the use of fire? This thing doesn't make money. After deducting the cost and express delivery fee, it's only making money from craftsmanship. That's a lot. If I could, I would make 2,000 paper airplanes even if I didn't sleep. Tang Rui curled his lips and ignored him. Not sleeping. That was because there was a hole in his brain. He wanted money more than his life. The two of them spent 2 hours to pack up all the orders. Brother Rui, I'm leaving. Okay, be careful on the road. He closed the door. Tang Rui went to cook instant noodles. He had been so busy that he hadn't even eaten lunch. He was already hungry. While eating, he took out his phone to watch a short video. Ultimately, he realized that his mother had sent more than 10 messages. Yes. It was all related to Li Shuyao. He said that the girl felt that he was not bad and was willing to try to get along with him for a period of time. She wanted him to perform well and strive to marry her. Tang Rui replied to the messages with relative simplicity. Marry her. What a joke. She had only met him once, and she was already hacking his computer. If they were in a relationship, it would be terrible. However, since his mother had already said so, he still had to deal with it. Thinking of this, he sent a message to Li Shuyao. Are you busy? In less than 10 seconds, the other party replied. No, I'm watching a drama. What's the matter? Can you recommend a few professional books on information security? Entrance. Level. No, it's professional level. After 5 minutes, Li Shuyao sent a long list of professional books. He had learned a few of them. However, he had never seen most. Thank you. You're welcome. The chat ended. Tang Rui logged into the digital library, clicked open the scientific literature, and searched for these books. There were actually both. This was good news. After finishing his instant noodles, he went to the computer and downloaded the books. Then, he imported the materials into the learning device. He put on his equipment and went to bed. When Tang Rui entered the dream and began to study, Li Shuyao, who was watching dramas at home, monitored the movements of his account. He really downloaded these books. This made her a little puzzled. He really had to learn this knowledge. However, he didn't download the books she gave him. In other words, he had a foundation in this area and was prepared to study it in depth. Li Shuyao thought about it for a long time, but she couldn't come up with a reason. She simply stopped thinking and picked up her phone to watch the drama again. In the blink of an eye. It was 10 o'clock at night. Tang Rui also woke up from his sleep. The first thing he did after waking up was to upgrade his subconscious learning equipment. After using it in the afternoon and at night, he had enough experience to level up. He clicked on Upgrade. Swoosh! A faint blue light flashed. The equipment upgrade was complete. Item. High Efficiency Subconscious Learning Equipment +4, Experience. 2174/25,000, Enhancement. External, Hardware, Software, Characteristic. Thought acceleration, origin points. 12. Upgradable. Chapter 18. Drone upgrade, special characteristic. High accuracy scanning. You are listening at novel full.audio. Thought acceleration. This upgrade actually had an additional characteristic. It was something he had not anticipated. If not for the fact that he had just woken up. He really wanted to try out the effects of this new characteristic. Other than that, the appearance of the entire equipment had also changed. The appearance and the internal equipment should have been adjusted as well. Anyway, the equipment now looked much more advanced. The external materials also felt excellent. In that case, leveling up to level 4 was a hurdle. Items that reached this level would significantly improve and increase their characteristics. Thinking of this, Tang Rui was a little excited. This was because his drone was only a few thousand experience points away from leveling up. Based on the previous experience, points gain speed, he calculated. He only needed to fly for another 3 hours tonight to upgrade the drone. Putting down the subconscious learning device, he quickly changed his clothes, packed his things, and left with the drone. He drove out of the neighborhood. He looked at the food stalls by the roadside and felt a little greedy. He was not hungry. But his stomach was definitely empty. After all, he hadn't eaten dinner. However, compared to the drone upgrade, eating was a small problem. They arrived at the gas station at the foot of the old mountain. When Tang Rui was buying fuel, he conveniently bought 3 bags of bread and a bottle of drink at the supermarket at the gas station. When hungry, he would just casually eat a mouthful to fill his stomach. They arrived at the observation platform again. Tang Rui skillfully parked the car and placed the equipment properly. The engine roared. The drone flew into the sky. He activated the ground search mode. Tang Rui began to search for targets in the woods, beside the river embankment in the haystack. After all, at this time, many people who sought excitement would go to these places to exercise. He anxiously searched for more than half an hour but found nothing. What was going on? What day is it today? Why is there no one here? Tang Rui controlled the unmanned machine to wander around these places a few times, but he found nothing. This was very strange. Could it be that they had changed places? He controlled the drone and began to scan the woods on both sides of the road along the provincial and national roads. In the end, he wandered around for a long time. The drone's fuel was almost exhausted, but it did not find anything suspicious. He controlled the drone to return. Add oil. It took off again. This time, Tang Rui was too lazy to look for it. He controlled the drone to fly over the Yangtze River and began to pull various maneuvers. He even controlled the drone to shuttle around the pier under the Yangtze River Bridge. Due to the continuous maneuvering and activation of the afterburner, the fuel was consumed in no time. In less than 40 minutes, the drone ran out of fuel and had to return. Tang Rui filled the drone with fuel again and controlled it to take off. This time, he was too lazy to control it. He marked a few points on the map and let the drone cruise automatically. He took out some bread and drinks and started eating dinner. In the blink of an eye, it was 1:27 a.m. After more than 3 hours of flight, the drone landed on the observation deck. Tang Rui ran over anxiously. He looked at the system panel of the drone. Item. Exquisite fixed-wing drone +3, experience. 1259/12000, upgradable, enhancement. Body, avionic, engine, energy, origin points. 12, can be strengthened. He finally had enough experience points. Tang Rui was so excited that he forgot the current environment and directly clicked to upgrade. After ordering, he regretted it. Fortunately, there were no surveillance cameras around the observation platform, and there was no one within a 2-kilometer radius. A golden light flashed. The drone was upgraded. Item. Perfect reconnaissance drone +4, experience. 959/26,000, enhancement. Body, avionic, engine, energy, characteristic. High. Precision scanning, origin points. 12, can be strengthened, this upgrade. It could be said that the drone was completely reborn. Other than the changes in the data on the system panel, the entire drone had changed greatly. From the original airplane model body, it directly turned into a long wave rider body. The length of the drone had increased from 1.1 to 2.3 meters. Furthermore, the entire body of the mecha was also made invisible and designed for high speed. Therefore, the wings didn't grow longer. Instead, they became shorter. From normal wings, it was upgraded to a variable. Sweep wing. The twin tails disappeared. The normal air intake became a DSI air intake. As for the internal changes, it was impossible to tell just by looking at the hardware. Tang Rui looked at the brand new drone and felt a little excited. It was incredible, to say the least. This exterior design was simply amazing. To brag, this design could be directly enlarged to a full-sized supersonic stealth strategic bomber. Tang Rui poured the remaining half a barrel of fuel directly into the drone. He couldn't wait to try the upgraded drone. In the end, half a barrel was filled. Let's not talk about filling up the previous drone. The original drone could only take 1 barrel of fuel at most. Now, the capacity of the fuel tank had increased by more than 5 times. This meant that the drone's flight time had been extended. As for how much it would be extended, it would depend on the fuel consumption. After refueling, Tang Rui returned to the computer. It was only then that he realized that even the image on the computer screen had changed. Originally, the drone's camera could only capture high-definition images. The image displayed on the computer screen was now at 4K resolution. This improvement in image quality meant that the drone's optical equipment and image processing capabilities had become stronger. He briefly checked the operating system interface and started the engine. Buzz. Boom. Blue-white exhaust flames spurted out, directly drawing out clear Mach rings. He released the brakes. The drone launched and rushed out. Fortunately, he was mentally prepared and pulled the lever. Whoosh! The drone flew into the sky. The scene that Tang Rui saw on the screen was like watching a blockbuster. That feeling was very satisfying. Activating the electro-optical system, he activated the full-frequency scanning mode. He wanted to know how powerful the high-precision scanning feature on the system interface was. In the next second, all sorts of notifications appeared on the screen. He tapped on one of the markings. Instantly, the marked picture zoomed in, and a gecko lying on the wall appeared on the screen. Suck. Tang Rui took a deep breath. This was a little f*king exaggerated. No wonder it was called high-precision scanning. This precision was simply too high. The picture displayed on the computer screen even showed the stripes on the gecko's body clearly. It could even continue to enlarge. Tang Rui controlled the drone to fly to the river's surface. After crossing the third bridge, he activated the afterburner. In the blink of an eye, the drone exceeded the speed of sound, reaching Mach 2. At this speed, Tang Rui turned on the ground scanning system again and began to scan and take pictures of the woods on both sides of the river embankment. The effect was still the same. The photos taken did not become blurred because of the increased speed of the drone. After testing the electro-optical system, he looked at the data of the fuel tank. He could still fly for more than 10 minutes. However, this meant he couldn't use the afterburner while flying at Mach 2. He turned off the afterburner. He looked at the drone's location and the surrounding environment before pulling the control stick. The drone began to ascend at a 75 degrees angle. 300 meters. 500 meters. 1,000 meters. DDD. At this moment, the system sent an alarm. The drone's radar had detected a fighter jet. The fighter jet was right above the drone. The system had already marked it. Target lock. No. No target lock. Tang Rui's hand trembled, and he hurriedly lowered the drone's altitude. Then, he dove into the forest beside him and flew close to the road. He was scared to death. Playing with drones privately, not filming classified locations, not interfering with aviation order, if caught, at most, he would be re-educated. However, if they were to lock onto a fighter jet with radar and fire control, things would get out of hand. Fortunately, the drone had a stealth function after the upgrade. Otherwise, based on the drone's height, ground, and airborne radars would have long scanned it. They circled at a low altitude for 5 minutes. After ensuring the fighter jet above him had left, he controlled the drone to return. Chapter 19. I Can't Do It. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 19. I can't do it. On the way home, Tang Rui thought of the fighter plane that the radar scanned previously, and the corners of his mouth unconsciously curled up. As a military enthusiast, it was still very exciting to encounter an Air Force fighter jet under such circumstances. What made him even more excited was that he now knew the actual radar cross-section of the fighter jet. If you looked for such data online, you definitely wouldn't be able to find it. Even if there was, it would be an estimation and mostly scrambled data. Of course, he wouldn't tell anyone, let alone post it online. At most, he would be secretly happy in his heart. Back home, Tang Rui dragged the trolley case upstairs, and the drone was in the car. He had no choice. After upgrading, the body of the unmanned machine had become too long. Should he enter the elevator? Unless he carried the drone and climbed the stairs. But that was impossible. He couldn't carry it either. Back home, Tang Rui took a simple shower and then lay on the bed to swipe his phone. This time, he did not watch short videos. Instead, he entered a military fan forum and watched everyone brag. De Mao's drone flew off course and went overseas. He clicked on the post and glanced at the content before scrolling down to the comments. Yes, it was a tactical deviation. Yes, the navigation system is intermittently malfunctioning. This drone is really accurate. It doesn't matter whether they fly off course or not. In the absence of a large-scale bombing campaign, it's impossible to succeed by relying solely on precision strikes. We can't do without precision attacks. Why? Because we're poor and have no money. This battle has really opened my eyes. Looking at the netizens' comments, Tang Rui curled his lips. It was meaningless. Compared to the military forum from 10 years ago, it was far from it. This was also why he rarely came over to read posts in the past 2 years. The smell of gunpowder was not strong enough. After reading the previous military forum, one feel like World War III was in full swing. After reading the military forum, you would only feel that fighting a war was like playing house. After half an hour, Tang Rui put down his phone, put on the subconscious learning device, and went to sleep. In less than 10 seconds, he fell into a deep sleep. In the dream, Tang Rui returned to his university days and became a top student. He did not know why or how, but he could understand at the moment he heard it. The slightly difficult knowledge points could be mastered by him without much effort. This made him very interested in learning. Other than attending classes every day, he also went to the library to read. Until one day, he realized that he had already finished reading all the professional books related to information security. At this moment, he was in a trance. Then, the whole world collapsed before his eyes. So I was dreaming. This thought flashed past, and Tang Rui fell into a deep sleep once again. The next day. It was past 10 in the morning. Tang Rui woke up from his deep sleep and took off the subconscious learning equipment. He shook his head. It felt pretty good. In the dream, he did not have self-awareness, but now that he woke up, he had already realized how strong this thought acceleration characteristic was. Several of the books recommended by Li Shuyao were difficult to read. One had to have strong professional knowledge to understand it. With his learning efficiency in his dream, he would need at least a week to fully understand these books. However, with the buff of thought acceleration, he could not help but feel a little nervous. Only used a night of the night. He had mastered all the knowledge in these books. The difference was not as simple as 7 or 8 times. Level 4 characteristics were indeed very strong. Tang Rui put down the equipment. He got up. Washed up. After changing, he took his phone and went downstairs for breakfast. There are so many private messages again. Sitting in the breakfast shop, he was speechless as he read the private messages from the background. He was not planning to sell the paper airplane anymore. The efficiency of obtaining origin points was too low. Although he said that he could earn a lot of money, he had already thought of a way to make more money. He had just gotten his golden finger in the past 2 days, so he was a little stunned. Last night, through the subconscious learning machine's accelerated thinking, he thought about other problems while studying, including making money. In fact, he currently had a mountain of gold and silver in his hands, for example, the image recognition algorithm in the drone system. The value of this algorithm was immeasurable. This algorithm could be used in drones and various optical systems such as graphics cards, surveillance, feature rendering, unmanned vehicles, deep space exploration, and optical satellites. As for who to sell the algorithm to, there was no need to think about private companies. The water was too deep, and they wouldn't grasp it. At most, Tang Rui would come up with a watered-down version of the algorithm and sell it to private companies to make money. However, there was no hurry. Although he was short of money, he wasn't so poor that he couldn't make a living. Therefore, there was no need to continue the paper airplane business. After breakfast, Tang Rui didn't go home. Instead, he took the subway to the downtown area and went to Zhujiang Road to buy some electronic components. When he reached the street, a public security bureau building not far away from him was holding a purchasing meeting. The meeting was about the purchase of a batch of police drones. It was said that the police had set very high standards. As for the specific standards and requirements, each company was still unclear. However, the representatives of the various companies did not care about the police's standards. What they cared about was the purchase price. If the purchase price was only 7 digits, no one would care. The purchase price was 8 digits. It was a fierce battle. It would be best if he could get it, but it was fine if he didn't get it. The tender, however, went up to 9 digits. He had to get it at any cost, no matter the standard. He had to ensure that it was completed. Very quickly, the representatives and technicians of dozens of drone companies entered the meeting. At the police station, the people in charge of the Criminal Investigation Department and the Special Police Department, as well as the director of the Jinling City Bureau, also entered the meeting. After a round of nonsense, the police announced the criteria for the drone purchase. He looked at the requirements on the projector. The representatives and technicians of the major drone companies were all dumbfounded. Was this a joke? There was no need to talk about the altitude and control distance. The drone must have infrared cameras, low-light cameras, terrain scanning, and other functions. If that was all, then it would be fine. Put these things on it. Whether it was good or not was another matter. However, the problem was that the police required the drone to be able to clearly capture the water droplets on the faces of the people in the forest on a rainy night at an altitude of 200 meters. Was this King joke? If they had the technology and the ability, they wouldn't have come here to fight for the police's purchase. The military in Yingjiang would place orders for them. The chief looked at the mess below and frowned. Do you have any questions? The director asked. Leader, we can't fulfill your request. Can't do it. That can't be true. The director was a little surprised. After all, an ordinary person can use a drone, but companies like you can't. It's true. Even the most advanced military unmanned reconnaissance aircraft in the United States can't meet this standard, let alone us. A technician from DJI said. In his opinion, this kind of request was simply a fantasy. The police's requirements for drones are even more exaggerated than the military's. As DJI's technical staff spoke, those from the other companies also spoke up. They all meant the same thing. We can't do it. When the director saw this, he suddenly realized that he seemed to have overlooked a problem. That was the technical level of the drone in Tang Rui's hands. This was not his fault. In his opinion, even if Tang Rui's drone was not bought, it was assembled with parts. Since he, a fresh graduate, could make a drone, these companies would definitely be able to do the same. But now, it seemed that he had thought too simply. Chapter 20. Triple Protection Laptop. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the end, the police lowered the purchasing standards for drones. However, although the police seemed to have lowered the standard of their requirements, it was still too high for the manufacturer. However, they didn't say much because they had already made up their minds not to accept this order. A total of 10 million purchase orders, and you want us to spend millions or even billions on research. Was this reasonable? It didn't make sense. Even if you were the owner of Party A, you couldn't make such an excessive request. Therefore, the purchasing meeting ended with a strong start but a weak finish. The police also saw through the thoughts of the drone manufacturers. After the meeting ended, the bureau chief told the heads of the two provincial departments that he would take responsibility for this. In the afternoon, he went to report to the director. Back in the office, the director picked up the phone and was about to call China Southern Airlines to find a drone expert to ask some questions. However, before he could pick up the phone, there was a knock on his office door. Enter. Chief, there's a new victim in the August 17th case. The secretary pushed the door open and reported with a serious face. After hearing the secretary's words, the director's face instantly darkened, and his eyes were filled with anger. Have you identified the victim? The victims were the same as before, the facial bones were completely destroyed, and the restoration was extremely difficult. There were no clues related to the identity of the body. The only thing that could be confirmed was the victim's time of death. Inform the Criminal Investigation Unit and the Technical Department for a meeting. Yes, Chief. The sudden incident disrupted the director's rhythm. He had already forgotten about the drone. After all, compared to the drone, this case was more important. Its nature was simply vile. The criminals were merciless. In less than a month, he attacked 3 times in a row, and each time, he killed someone. He even arrogantly carved the word "die" on the corpse. But the matters on the police side, Tang Rui knew nothing. He spent more than 20,000 yuan on a bunch of things. He was carrying a big box and taking the subway home. Actually, he did not have that much money. Therefore, he could only use the bank card the old lady gave him. This bank card was his grandmother's retirement salary card. There was a monthly pension of 12,000 yuan. The youngest son, the eldest grandson, the old lady's lifeblood. He was the eldest grandson and the only male of the Tang family in this generation. The old lady was afraid that her eldest grandson would be unable to eat well and wear warm clothes. Therefore, she gave him her retirement salary card and let him spend it however he wanted. If it was not enough, he could ask for more. This was also because Tang Rui was a strong man himself, not that kind of character of idling around and waiting for death. Otherwise, according to the old lady's way of raising him, he would definitely be crippled. Although he was not crippled now, he was still a semi-finished product, not much better than scrap. Why did he say that? Because he knew that he couldn't endure hardship and didn't have that kind of ruthlessness. After all, it was very difficult to change the bad habits that he had been used to since he was young. However, he did not want to change it now. They all had golden fingers, and they'd all been there. He even changed the hammer. Wasn't it good to enjoy life? Wasn't it good to lie down and win? Why did he have to suffer? Back home, Tang Rui took out the things in the box and placed them on the workbench. These were all electronic components and various electronic devices. Next, he would use this equipment to assemble a laptop. It wasn't an ordinary laptop but a 3-dot defense level that could be used in areas without signal in the wild. It had dual channels of base stations and satellites and was specially designed for intrusion and anti-dot intrusion. He was also preparing to transplant the drone's control program onto this laptop. After all, an ordinary laptop was too unsafe. No matter how he patched it, it was still full of loopholes. Most importantly, he could not use the system interface to upgrade it. That was why he was preparing to assemble a laptop himself. The assembly of the hardware was relatively easy. After all, it was all made by the manufacturer. He just needed to assemble it. The only troublesome thing was to firmly combine the hardware with the body of the 3-dot proof suitcase. The reserved space wouldn't be so precise if it wasn't a set of equipment. This required him to handle it manually. From noon to night, he finally finished installing the hardware. As for the software, he was not allowed to use the Microsoft-based system. Wasn't Hongmeng fragrant? After he upgraded and strengthened the Hongmeng system, he could also sell the optimized Hongmeng system to Huawei. What was this called? Even Qin Shihuang felt numb when he touched the electric wire. When Tang Rui came back after dinner, the Hongmeng system and the import were completed. The system interface also appeared on the laptop. Item: 3-dot proof laptop EXP 0/800, origin points 20.6, can be strengthened. The initial upgrade experience was 280, neither high nor low. The only thing he didn't expect was that when he assembled a laptop, he actually obtained 8.6 origin points. This was a pleasant surprise. Tang Rui looked at many source points and resisted the urge to strengthen the laptop directly. Because there was still a lot of equipment that was unmatched. He turned on his laptop. He first transplanted the drone system onto it, then installed the brainwave recognition algorithm and the supporting program. Then, he took out the peripheral equipment of the drone and connected it to the computer. That was not all. He took out a smart bracelet, a miniature camera, a pair of Bluetooth earphones, and a pair of smart glasses. Finally, he took out his Mate 40 Pro. He clicked on the enhancement button after connecting the phone and all the accessories to the laptop. Enhanced bodies 3 defenses. 1 source point, enhanced hardware equipment. 2 points. Enhanced software system. 2 points. Enhanced external devices. 2 origin points. With a flash of light, all the equipment on the work desk disappeared, including the phone, the control stick, the smart bracelet, the smart glasses, and so on. Instead, it was a black suitcase with a metallic texture. Tang Rui was stunned for a moment. This change was a little scary, and he couldn't react in time. He opened the black suitcase. As his finger touched the camouflage, a blue light flashed. Crack. He opened the suitcase. The screen that was flashing with the Primordial Chaos logo wallpaper lit up. The instruction manual of the suitcase was displayed on it. This was good. There was finally an instruction manual. He looked at the instruction manual and opened the 2 sides of the suitcase keyboard according to its logo. Crack. The 2 sides of the keyboard opened up, and the throttle valve and control stick of the drone were raised. This design was alright. It saved him the trouble of having to take a separate peripheral. Then, he followed the instruction manual and looked at the bottom of the keyboard. Crack. The bottom of the keyboard opened up, revealing a drawer. There was a cell phone, a wristband, and glasses inside. Tang Rui picked up his phone. Its appearance mostly stayed the same. The app installed on the phone did not change either. However, his eyes instantly widened when he opened the phone's configuration.